Welcome to another episode of the Well Life Podcast, where we discuss what we have determined to be the 8 dimensions of wellness.
Today, our goal is to influence you on your training, right? Give you a little bit of a guide into our insight and how we like to train and work out and plan and program our workouts, right? To hopefully push it to you, right? And give you guys some more like kind of an outlook and a way to look at your workouts, break it down, and make your gym life a little bit more optimized.
Yeah, and give you something to take home in order to be able to develop your own training split to optimize your physique, optimize your fitness goals, and something to try out, for sure.
Yeah, I think to start the conversation, I think first off, we always talk about planning and goals, right, and making sure that kind of your daily tasks match where you're trying to go with your goals, right? And that's huge in training. Number one, because your body is a machine, right? It can be moved, it can be adapted, depending on what you put on it, how you carry things out, right? What your scheme looks like throughout days and months and weeks, days, weeks, months, right? So it's, how do you draw that up
and
to
I
get
think
to where you want to be?
The important distinction here is that we're talking about strength training, right? If you were just trying to burn calories, you would need a less efficient and less planned out program. You can get out and run, you can get out, go on a bike. If I was just looking to burn 400 calories a day, I can just do that kind of in any way, right? I can garden, I can play basketball, I could go for a run, right? And I can achieve this kind of calorie burn. But if you're looking to change your physique and build muscle and get stronger, you need a planned program. And anything that's not quantifiable, anything that's not drawn out, right, can just be missed. And that's where you lose opportunity, and that's where you lose out on your program.
And I think that's the biggest conversation we have with a lot of people is, I think number one, it's because it's comfortable for them, right, to just have some type of movement that makes them mentally feel good. Hit some type of one-off workout class or a run. And number two, it's just kind of ignorance to the information that they need to know and how they should be going about that, and the comforts in that, right? And like you hear about tweaks, deadlifting is bad for your back, blah, 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 right? All this stuff. It's like, well, no, the tissue in your body is supposed to be used a certain way in accordance with your bone structure to drive yourself into these positions, lift, pick up stones off the ground, move in a primal sense, right? I like to look at it that way because
our bodies are built to do these.
Your spine is meant to move and create tension.
And carry load, support load.
So I think that's what we're trying to get across here today is figure out how we can tell you what we do, and you can take that and apply it to yourself in the gym, because nothing is worse than getting up every day without a plan, feeling like, first of all, motivating yourself for a workout can be hard enough. But what do you do? What are you doing?
That's a really good point. I think that's why our group training here is very important for people, because...
And for me, too, where we're hitting these classes, and it's much easier to just do the workout
to not have to think about it. It's already programmed out. But think about that. Busy individual, you're a parent, being able to come to a place like 8well and not have to think about a program that's going to be built to get you stronger, it's going to be phased appropriately for you, is an ease in your strength training program. Whereas we know a lot of people that go to gyms and they say, oh, I have a back workout today, and you just went to work all day. Now you have to create a back workout for yourself, right? When you probably should also be doing some legs on that day as well, and you're missing that. But you're just trying to program a back workout, and you haven't thought about what you need to do, and now you're getting there, and now your workout is 2.5 hours because you're trying to wait for equipment and trying to think about a back workout when, in fact, you could have had something programmed out and built for you, and you could have kind of gotten out of there in an hour.
And I think you're going to want to keep listening if you struggle with consistency, if you fail to stay consistent, if you fail to build the strength that you have or that you want to have, if you feel like you keep trying to get stronger but it's not happening.
If you feel like the gym is overwhelming.
If you feel like you're eating right but nothing's happening, right? I think those are the main points that deter people because they don't know what to do. So diving into some workout splits, right? That's kind of the reason in totality in our first topic of splitting up your workouts throughout the week. What does that look like? What we just talked about is why you want to create a workout split for yourself, right? You think of the chest Monday, back Tuesday,
the classic bro
legs
split,
Wednesday.
call,
Yeah.
right?
That's such an easily attainable first way to work out, because that's kind of like in the primal sense, or like the young, ignorant sense of like, you're a teenager, you start searching up body parts. Oh my God, chest, triceps, front deltoids.
Yeah.
I can push with those muscles. That's the push day. Monday's International Chest Day. It's a beach muscle. I'm going to go hit that first, right? The soreness feels good. Bench pressing is like a masculine thing, right? That feels good. That's the rap it gets, right? You see these guys lifting immense amounts. That's attractive almost, right? So it's like, why wouldn't you want to do that, right? Then you go, okay, what's second? Back muscles. Cool, back muscles. Let me isolate that muscle group now. I'm learning. Okay, the lats pull, the traps work, right? It's all that kind of, that basis of okay, what does what, and how do I work those out?
Yeah. And the thing is, right, we could sit here and kind of shit on a bro split.
Yeah.
But if you're a novice strength trainer, right, you just started working out, you're a teenager just getting into it, or right, an adult, but you've never strength trained before, it's still going to do something for you.
Totally.
Right? Because if you've never adapted your muscles to strength training, as soon as you start putting a stress on that muscle, they're going to respond. You'd probably see results, and you're going to see some strength increase. But that will plateau quickly if that's the split you kind of stay with. So if you're someone that's starting there, cool, that's great. At least you're in the gym and you're doing something. But you're going to kind of want to get to a split that's going to be better adapted for the strength you're trying to achieve and the physique you definitely want.
100%. And right, I know bodybuilders that have been training that way for 15, 20 years, right? And it works for them because they also learned the secondary nature of loading, rep schemes probably, right? Deloading, loading, deloading on the body to create change.
The intensity and volume they have on those days are immense.
Stimulating different, right? Different rep schemes, different weight, right? Everything like that.
Yeah. But why? So why do we need a split outside of it being a better way to be prepared for the gym?
Yeah.
Why is it better for the body? Why is it better to reach your goals?
So I think a split in general, and this once again can be specific to the individual, in a mass population sense, in a human anatomical sense, right? Our joints are made to move and have capacity to move. Our joints should be able to load in multi directions. Our joints and muscle system, right, should be used in so many different fashions to carry, pick up, push, pull, hinge, squat, right? Everything needs to be working in accordance. And I think that with that being said, to keep a healthy, consistent regimen in the gym for yourself, or whatever your workout style is, whether it's at home or in the gym, you want to have some type of weekly outlook on your workout instead of just a daily outlook where you're going and you force yourself to go 5 to 7 times a week. Sometimes that's extremely unattainable, especially as a normal 9-to-5 person, even an entrepreneur, anybody you talk to, anybody with any schedule, that's hard to uphold and attain, right? So I think that kind of taking a step back, looking at what's realistic for yourself, to put that in plan to say working out 3 days a week is probably more than attainable. 45 minutes on each day. Doesn't even have to be an hour. Now, how do we go from there and say, I'm still going to hit every body part rather than just looking at chest on one day and back on another and legs on another. I'm still going to touch upon the things that are needed. I'm going to have some type of maintenance workout, accessory-based workout in there, something that's going to help put me in better positions, right? And that can get very deep and involved, right, based off of what you may need, pains you're feeling, joint limitations, movement limitations that you have as you're, within your movement personally. But I think it's so important to take a look at, right, how do you structure out a very consistently attainable workout regimen each week.
And I think that's a very good point for everyone, right, to think about is you're probably not going to get to the gym 7 days a week. So how do I build and structure a program that allows me to be there 3 to 4 times a week and I can get the most out of that program?
Yeah. And mind you, real quick, we went back to, you said, right, most people are on a cardio basis, right? That's not cardio basis we're talking about. You might be able to find 15 minutes of a bike ride or a walk or a run, but how can you organize it so that you can create enough anatomical change for yourself to be in the gym, to be strength training, not only for looks, not only to feel good, but for health, for wellness, for longevity, for your own personal body as it ages, right?
I think secondary to being able to help you create a program that is most beneficial for structure and for creating habits and actually allowing you to get there and get the most value of it throughout the week is then how can I produce enough strain on the muscle groups that I'm trying to work appropriately throughout the week, as opposed to just hitting chest once a week.
Yep.
Right. So if I create a program where I can now hit chest twice a week, right, and maybe I'm not doing 30 sets on Monday and then never touching my chest again. Maybe I'm doing 15, but I got another 15 coming 2 days after that, right? My chest gets to have strain, recover, and then work again, right? So I'm getting to touch my chest, getting to touch these muscle groups multiple times a week in an appropriate workout split, as opposed to something that maybe I'm just hitting chest once a week.
Yeah. So to piggyback off of that, right? In a structural sense, it's actually almost more beneficial to work out a muscle group multiple times a week because you get the recovery. But within the whole week, you want to look at that week in whole. You want to look at total sets, total reps, and almost total load for that muscle group, right? You'll probably have more weight load on a muscle, on the tissue, to physically push it to grow or get stronger in a week if you hit that muscle group 2 or 3 times in a week, less sets per day. You'll probably allow it to, it'll give you the ability to load it a little bit better and heavier, or hit more reps in the days that you're hitting that muscle group, rather than if you just did that one body part for an entire day.
Yeah.
Right? You might hit 5 to 7 exercises on a chest day. Typical is like 6 to 10,
to 35.
maybe 8 to 10 reps. Yeah, right? Let's look at that. If you do 3 exercises on one day and they're compounds, maybe with one accessory, and you do 3 to 5, right, on another day, you're getting the same amount, let's say, of volume, if not more, plus of greater ability to go heavy on a bench. A lot of push-ups maybe, blah, 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 whatever. Another heavy day on a bench, right? You might not have the same intensity if you do all that in one day.
Yeah, which, like, if we were to break that down kind of a little bit easier, right? So if I went on a Monday and I was just doing chest and I went and did flat bench, incline, some flies, and I did push-ups, right? By the time I get to my flies and my push-ups, I'm pretty shot, right? But if I just focused on that Monday on incline and flat, and I came in the next day, and maybe that next day was flies and push-ups, I can probably do a lot more push-ups, I can probably do a lot more flies, right? I probably would do a bigger chest workout, right, or chest movement, but just thinking about in that sense, if I just broke up those 2 exercises, I can do more reps, definitely on those 2 secondary exercises, than I could if I kept them and lumped them in on that one day.
Yeah.
So how much bang for my buck can I get on my chest if I'm going to hit it multiple times and maybe decrease the amount of reps I'm doing each day and spread that across the week?
Yeah. I think we have very, very similar outlooks on the gym, on training, on how we train people, on how you should be working out. But with that being said, right, you have a phenomenal physique. You've trained a ton in your life as an athlete. Don't put a picture of him up on here, all right? We're not doing that. We're not showing it. Go to his page if you want to see it. We're not. But how would you say, over all the years of training, let's say, what, 13, or not 13, no. You probably started when you were 13, 20-ish years, maybe training seriously, 15 years solid, right? How would you say your mentality is entering your week of workouts or each workout, right? What's your mental approach? Where are you at mentally / physically in approaching your workouts?
I would say mentally approaching my workouts. So, right, as you stated, my gains are so much smaller now, right? And that's both physically and weight-wise.
Yeah.
So I have to work on a movement for a year in order to see an incremental change in the amount that I'm going to squat more and the amount I'm going to deadlift more, as opposed to someone that's just starting where they can kind of see that in a few months.
Yes.
And that goes on the same side as actually from a physique end, like unless I'm bulking and cutting and I can really dramatically
change with the
see
diet.
that change. So mentally, I hyper fixate on my form and the rep ranges that I'm working in every workout. And the muscle groups that I'm working, right? So I get excited about that exercise because it's almost like it's like practice for me every time, as opposed to getting in and trying to say, oh, I can't wait to bench 10 more pounds. It's like, how well can I bench without shoulder pain in a good range and see where I can push versus last week, but kind of how well can I just do this exercise kind of every time I come in? Because for me, it's about, right, these macro cycles. As opposed to the week to week, it's about how can I stay healthy and stay pushing really good weight? Because I know at the end of the year, I'm going to see that's where my big change is going to come about, as opposed to kind of in the short cycles.
Yeah, cool. No, I have the same approach. I wanted to kind of hear you say that, to tailor it into how almost everyone's approach should be in an outlook, in our opinion at least, right? We wanted to get into talking a little bit about training for longevity, right? And me, myself, I've dealt with a lot of back issues. I was a very hypermobile, hyper-flexible person. Being a baseball player, a pitcher specifically, always as a kid focused on mobility, the least amount of weight loading, weight bearing type tension creating stuff. Don't lift for pitchers, don't do this, right? That's old school mindset. I'm actually better and stronger now. My body is put together now. I still have back issues that I deal with. We have to work on certain things, but beginners can have the same problems too. And it's how do you set yourself up to not lift 400, 500 pounds off the floor because you're a beginner and you want that, and you see guys doing it on Instagram, you like in 2 months, right? How do you get there in a healthy way? You got trashed up playing football, right? You had so many different injuries. My body got tweaked up. My arm's been a wreck since I'm a kid from throwing a bunch, right? It's since actually gotten better because I've trained it. I've strength trained it out of it. It's been a lot stronger to handle force. But back also for me, I figured out a lot of things with my back, and my training approach is similar but different in that sense, right? So even from a beginner standpoint, how do you work yourself kind of around, detour around those problems, get into something for yourself that seems a little bit healthier, more sustainable, but you could still hit those numbers in a lot better capacity, right? Some guys are freaks out there that can deadlift 400 pounds the first time they ever step up to a bar. Yeah. And I've literally heard stories of guys that can do that, which is wild, but that doesn't mean everyone should, right? And I think the biggest thing is like can be misleading in that sense, and how much it actually takes to get there for some people, right?
It's like trying to defeat this thought of like ego lifting. Yeah. Right? We get it in here and we get it, and people get it in the gyms. Don't worry about everyone is running their own race. If you can stay in the race, you're better off than trying to ego lift, hurting yourself, and now having to go back and start from zero.
Yep.
Right.
So to segue that into longevity, right? You hear all these things about training for longevity in the modern day sense, depending on where you get your information from, right? We should be squatting. We should be deadlifting. At least that's what we preach. That's what we talk about. Some people say to stay away from it because it's feared, because it's kind of almost ignorance to the fact of this is what the body should be able to do for the long term. This is how you stay injury free. Over time, as you get older, for the elderly, this actually, right, lifting and weight loading and weight bearing on your joints assists you tenfold, 20-fold in everyday bone density, right, in joint integrity, and being able to reach overhead to grab a plate off of a high cabinet, to be able to pick up a grandchild, which we've had a couple of accounts of. One of our women here started, she was pre-osteoporotic, right? Immediately 6 to 8 months later, I think she went back for a checkup, and she was like mid-normal range in her bone density, which is incredible just from weightlifting. Didn't even drastically change much else, right? She actually like lost weight, got stronger, but wasn't by any means overweight, wasn't unhealthy, right? And then another one was, another woman was able to pick up her grandkids and play with them and run around for like 2 hours, and they got tired and she didn't, which is incredible, right? So that's proof in the pudding right there. But they were able to come in here and know that they're not trying to overdo it.
Exactly.
Right? They came in with, obviously, we're here on the podcast, we own a gym, we run it, we have the programming that we program for people because we want to show people that you can do it. You could deadlift off the floor. You could create change at any age.
And it's like this thought of democratizing strength training, right?
Yeah.
It's that everyone can do it. We have people that are coming in that are D1 athletes or high school kids like about to go play D1 sports or any division sports, deadlifting next to 60-year-old women. And it's that everyone can do these, but you have to do them at your own pace and with good form and good intention. Yeah, and at the bottom, right, baseline, your body should be to stay healthy and perform at some type of level. For an athlete, it's performing at 100% most of the time during the season. But how do you stay healthy and get stronger in the off season? For a 65-year-old person, it's performing still, but living life is performing well. Just getting up out of the car, sitting in a low sports car instead of, right, getting up off of the couch, picking things up off the ground. So I think at a baseline, it's like, right, strength training leads to
longevity-based lifestyle, regardless if you're an athlete, if you're an elder person, right? Based off of how you're approaching the gym day in and day out, right? It's non-ego lifting. It's still keeping your body healthy to perform in whichever way your performance dictates.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of the conversation that we get to have because of the structure of what we talk about so much. And it's not necessarily about strength training to achieve the aesthetics that you may be looking for, but that the aesthetics will be a secondary to the strength training.
Yeah, and the dieting.
Yeah, and the dieting. But that the strength training will allow you to just live an overall healthier life. And that healthier life will result in you being able to move better, in you not having pain that will be chronic or crippling. So you're gonna have less or not have that back pain. You're gonna have better shoulder mobility, right? You're gonna be able to use your muscles. You're gonna be able to get up and out of chairs. You're gonna be able to go food shopping, right, your entire life. So if you think about our 85-year-old selves, what do you want to be able to do? I like this thought of where you want to be when you're 85. What freedoms do you want when you're 85 years old? And I can imagine if I talk to most people, they want to be able to handle themselves. They want to be able to go to the bathroom themselves. They want to be able to get out of bed. You want to be able to go food shopping, sit down in a restaurant. You want to go, if you want to go take a trip out of the country and go walk around in Europe somewhere, it's a beautiful scene. Those are the freedoms that you want to be able to have when you're 85, and the only way to have them is to build the capacity for those things when you're younger.
Yeah.
If you don't do those things, you're not going to have a body that's apt to be able to function at that level when you're that old.
Yeah, and like life is so fleeting in the sense of like your youth only lasts a certain amount of time. For a lot of people, right, we're in this big wellness, fitness culture based off of social media. There's so much motivation and push for that, right? Maybe the generation before us wasn't as educated, and you can see some of the results of some of that with the old school mindset of certain things. It just wasn't with the times, right? Working out wasn't necessarily what they did, but it's, how do you set yourself up? And you see some of these former athletes that got the shit beat out of them in college as working out every day, 2-a-days, practicing, taking hits on the field, doing whatever they're doing, and they start to resent workout, and they almost fall into a crazy pit of terrible shape when they're done with their athletic careers, whether they're 20 years old or 30 years old, right? If they're professional or something, right? But all in all, it's the same conversation of living life to live life, like working out to live life, and become better and stronger in a way that's conducive to you. And I was going to go back to even you, right? You say, okay, cool, you could have said I was a great football player, I did this, I did that, right? But then like you might be better now, right? You've even alluded to the fact of the way that you approach your squat, your technique, your loading, your movement. Obviously, getting on the field and going 100 miles an hour, totally different stress on the body that your joints have to adapt to in the other way, but that's why you're playing. But like getting the hell beat out of you in the weight room, doing all these crazy things, all this stuff that the coaches put you through. It's like, how do you come out of that and reform it? And then it's like when you do come out of it and you learn over 8, 10, 12 years and you train into your 30s, into your 40s, into your 50s the right way, you're almost better off, right? Your joints, your body is put together better. Everything's running a little bit more optimally as you're getting older, which is beautiful when you train properly and when you organize it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm stronger I'm stronger today as a 33-year-old than I was as a 23-year-old playing college football.
Yeah.
Right, and that's in the sense of I can deadlift more and I can squat more, right? I can bench more than I did 10 years ago, essentially. And that's because, well, one, I'm also not taking hits and I'm not having to not strength train during the season, but I strength train better, right? So I strength train for form and I strength train to strengthen my body, as opposed to just kind of getting in and moving weights around because you were supposed to as a football player.
Yeah, yep, 100%. And, right, sometimes when you're young, and I can attest to this, of ego lifting, trying to get stronger, trying to move weights, especially when you're in, let's say, a college weight room or a rec center, and guys next to you that look bigger and stronger are lifting way bigger and stronger than you, right? You can start to ego lift. You can start to want to train every day and overtrain yourself and put so much stress on your tissue, on your joints, and go 100 miles an hour and try to load, and it's just almost like you're hungry for it every day, but you're so disorganized that injuries can come about. That's how I tweaked my back. I was trying to rip ab workouts for an hour sometimes in my dorm room and then go to the gym the next morning at 6 a.m. and back squat heavy because I needed to, I wanted to get stronger. And I was like, why am I not getting stronger? Why am I getting injured? What's wrong, right? And I was like, oh.
Yeah, I'm putting in all this work.
All this ab work is terrible for my spine. I'm sore as hell. I can't brace myself and use my anatomy how it needs to be used to support my spine, my joints, my discs.
Yeah.
And then I injure myself. And it's like, whoa, here's the problem. It's overtraining. It's not allocating enough time for recovery. It's not looking at the workout scheme, right? It's training totally ignorantly in that sense. And yes, it takes time, obviously. But I think biggest advice, too, is find someone out there that's proper, that knows it, or ask people questions and kind of figure out what you need to do for yourself to change, right? See what's working and not working. And that takes time, too. But, right, how do you have a plan?
Yeah, is educate yourself to be able to either, to work with someone to create a plan, or educate yourself to be able to create a plan yourself, and then be disciplined enough to stick to that plan. Because if you're not disciplined, yes, you can have the greatest four workout program, but if you're also then going to add extra sets on chest, extra squats, right, that extra sprint day, it's going to disable your plan.
Yeah.
So if you can stick to a program and be disciplined enough to stick to a program, you'll see the results that you're looking for.
Sometimes less is more, too. Yeah. And to kind of wrap this one up, we wanted to give somewhat a little bit of like a concrete example of what training looks like in a weekly and monthly span. So, right, we wanted to use our 8-well workouts as an example because it's pretty straightforward. Everyone that we have here trains on them. We have access to the workouts online if someone ever had any questions and wanted to see some of them. But in a total body scheme, right, how can you approach it so that you cover everything in a weekly basis? So for example, right, we like to break it down Monday, Wednesday, Friday, give yourself the rest day, sometimes light cardio, maybe a very light lift on the other days.
Yep.
Maybe you're playing a sport or doing something in between or on the weekends. But the staple is, right, hinging, squatting, pushing and pulling with the upper body and lower body, right? Mondays are upper push, lower pull. So we're looking for a dominant deadlift, some type of accessory Romanian deadlift, something that lights up the glutes and the hamstrings and that hip pattern, along with an upper push. Looking for some type of dominant compound bench press, an incline press, an overhead, a push-up variation, something that's giving a little bit more strength and testiness with an intensity and a volume basis, depending on the compound, right, and the rep scheme you're going with. Wednesday is going to be the opposite of that, which is how we like to structure it. And mind you, this is what we've been lifting on for 2 years almost now.
Strongest I've ever been in my life.
Honestly, yeah, actually, I feel great. Wednesday is going to be the opposite. Lower push, upper pull. We're going to be going into more compound leg work, a squat pattern work, more knee dominant work, right, which is squatting, not hinging. Hinging is hip dominant. So we're going to be going into back squat, maybe a front squat, maybe some type of split squat, lunge, loading the quads, the glutes, a little bit of the adductors, and then we're moving into a back exercise, right? While we're doing this, some of these are superset off each other, so we might have a split squat with a pull-up, right? You might have a row with some type of other squat or a back squat with that, right? And then we're going into our Friday workout, which we like to keep it full body.
And that's because it's better for the masses to kind of hit everything, especially if you're coming to that Monday, Wednesday. It's a good pairing on our Friday for a full body workout to hit all of those muscle groups again, kind of as we spoke about, and then also kind of ramp the heart rate up a little bit.
Yeah, so we like to give the heart rate a little bit of a ramp in some type of circuit style. We'll have like a catered warm-up and prep on every day, do some type of dynamic movement on a Friday, and then a bigger circuit, whether it's an AMRAP, which is as many rounds as possible, or an EMOM, every minute on the minute, something that paces it out for the group, keeps them accountable to the workout, and then some type of finisher, right? But like you said, touching the body or touching the body parts multiple times a week. Going to throw some bicep curls in there because they feel good. Going to throw some tricep work, right? A little bit of core work here and there. More preparatory core work, like look up a dead bug or certain variations of planks. Not so much a sit-up or a crunchy workout, even though that's fine, right? Once in a while or a couple times throughout.
But you want something that's going to give you a little more stability, control.
And overall, right, I wanted to take that, and that's your weekly type of outlook. We run that 3 weeks in here. It can be 3 to 4 weeks. You run that same workout and then change it, whether it's changing volume, which is the rep scheme of 8 reps to 15 reps, or 6 reps to 12, or 12 to 2, or 12 to 3 reps, right, if you're going really heavy, and kind of looking at how those volumes and intensities change based off of load and rep scheme that you're working.
So change the volume, also change tempo, right? I can I can bench press for 12 weeks, right? First 4 could be 10 reps. Next 4 could be a tempo, 10 reps. Weight has to change with that. Different stressors, different demand on the body. So being able to play with that low pull, upper push, low push, upper pull, and then change your volumes, change your tempos, be able to kind of affect the muscle groups that you're working different ways.
So there you have it, right? Comment. What kind of workout splits do you like to do? Where have you found some good longevity-based workouts that you've been able to stay consistent with? And what do you need help on, right? If you need help, ask us questions, message us on the Well Life podcast, at 8well.life on Instagram. Feel free, right?
Yeah. We've sent out kind of a sample week of our programming. If you want to see a sample week of that Monday, Wednesday, Friday that we give, send us a message. We'll give you a free sample of our 1 week programming here at 8well.
Yep. Thanks, guys.